Fortnite OG has done the unthinkable and brought back the glory days of Fortnite. It does, however, come at a cost. Number one, a very short season, and number two, not everything is exactly the same. Let me show you what I mean. For starters, many of you who played back in the day might remember this bunker over in Wailing Woods, and yes, it is still there, and yes, it is also still unbreakable. Now, the really interesting thing that I noticed about this right off the bat is that on the back, there are no strange alien-type hieroglyphics or markings, and this was actually an insignia that was on a lot of different things back in the day in Chapter 1, not just on this bunker, but it is indeed missing. Back in Chapter 1, there was a big community obsession with this bunker, and there were a lot of different theories about what was in it, what wasn't in it. There was even a glitch at one point with a shopping cart where you could go get inside the bunker. Ultimately, the first time, nothing ever happened with this bunker in a meaningful way, but who knows, maybe this time around it will. Here's a look at the upcoming map phase featuring the one and only Polar Peak, courtesy of Egyptian Fortnite leaker, and you can see right away there's something not quite right. It is missing any sign of not only the Devourer, but also the prisoner. Back in the day when we had this map stage, there were some massive footprints that led off the side of the island that was a clear indication that the creature had escaped. But in this timeline, it looks like perhaps we've avoided danger somehow. And if there's no Devourer, that means there's no robot to fight it, which has got me all over the place. Now, on top of that, there's something going on with the meteor. You'll remember the meteor that originally hit Dusty Depot and turned it into Dusty Divot to start Season 4 of Chapter 1. Well, it's here early in this map stage. You'll see it lingering back there in the background of Polar Peak, except it's a little bit different because back when it was hovering above the map originally in Season X, there was only Dusty Depot. There was no divot. So the fact that the meteor can be seen overhead with the divot already in the ground makes me think something has gotten messed up in the timeline. Now, very soon, Kevin the Cube is going to respawn again and roll around the map, giving us a similar experience to what we originally experienced back in the day. He's gonna go to Loot Lake and Kevin's Island will be reborn again. The interesting thing is Kevin's Island is going to be directly overhead of an exposed 0 point, zapping the energy out of it. Remember, back in the day, the mech removed the 0 point on purpose in a last-ditch effort to defeat the Devourer, but now since there's seemingly no monster, then there might not be a need for a mech, which is yet another big change to the timeline. Now, in Sloane's voice messages to Jones for this season's lore, it is known that this is supposed to be a big heist, that we are here to retrieve something or someone from the past to help us out in the future. My guess is we are after the 0 point from this reality, and perhaps we're not the only ones here after it as well. Eventually, at some point this season, the visitor's rocket is going to resurface at the Dusty Depot, and we're going to get his tapes again, and they could possibly have different messages than they did the first time. Now, the most important thing and the most interesting thing to me is the fact that the rocket now has the time machine attached to it. The same time machine that brought us here to this map, and the same time machine that's going to be making a lot of different stops around the map up until the time it gets attached to the rocket. Many of you may have already known that this season is going to end with a variation of what happened at the end of Chapter 1 with the end event and a black hole. This time it's surely to be pretty different in a big way with this time machine strapped to the rocket like that. We might be going through a whole bunch of different timelines and realities. Who knows, but I'm really excited, and I truly think this could be the send-off Chapter 1 deserved. Everything I showed you in this video is an example of how the timeline is changing and how, although very familiar, this is not the exact replica of Chapter 1, but it is still very nice nonetheless and very, very fun to play.